Hey, this is Matt. Once again, what about you in the videos? Another paid request this time for Ryan. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos or topics, reactions, commentaries, re-reviews, tier lists, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is a film that I had heard of, just watched it for the first time now. Dog Tags. Now, some places say 1988, but I think it's 1987. It's a Vietnam movie, but it's also a little bit of Treasure of the Sierra Madre put in there. I just recently this got a Venator Syndrome Blu-ray, and I would actually not mind picking this up one day. Granted, Venator Syndrome's pretty expensive and cheap, but if I ever find a good deal, and I would like to pick this up. Because I actually did not mind this film. I have some issues here and there. Now, for I understand, the version I saw was on YouTube, like very rough VHS quality. It's an hour and 29 minutes, so that would be 89 minutes. Now, look up some info. Apparently, the Blu-ray is 111 minutes. So, I mean, that's 20 minutes longer. I don't know if that's a misprint. I don't know if that's true. If that's the case, I don't know what was all added. So anything I say here, maybe it's fixed in that cut. I mean, unless there was a misprint, they screwed up, but I'd be very curious to see that longer cut and see what was added in. So if anyone like Ryan, if you know or if anybody else knows, please feel free to mention down below. Or hell, I mean, I'll say this: if anyone wants to give me the Blu-ray, I'll review it. I'm a cheap hoe, but I'll be free shit. But the setup is there's a writer who is looking into the story that apparently 10 years ago during Vietnam, there was a chopper with important documents. But then you come to find out later on, it was not important documents, it was gold. But the writer doesn't know this yet, so he gets some word of mouth from the Philippines, and he goes to see this guy, and this guy tells a bit of the story of what happened, at least to his knowledge. And then what was always a bit weird was right after that, boom, we're right into these POWs in this camp. They're arguing for a bit. One or two guys rescue them. And then, boom, they're on the walk, they're on the run. They're told by superiors, we're not going to pick you guys up yet. We need you to do this other mission. Go to this helicopter that was shot down and go get these important documents, which then you find out later is gold. But we're thrust so much into it that it felt like I was in the middle of a movie and going, where's the beginning? Because I'm like, who are all these characters? Who are these POWs? Who's the people rescuing them? And you really don't know anything about them. So I don't know if there's any footage of establishing these characters, who they are, whether who they were back in America, what led them into being POWs, anything beforehand. Because, like I said, it's like watching a film where the first 20 minutes have been cut out. And I would have preferred that than... My least favorite part is the whole writer thing, because he's at the very beginning, he's at the very end, it's like it's bookends it. And I would have rather get to know more about the soldiers, who they are, where they came from, and then get into this predicament. So I care a bit more of what's happening. So I don't know what the thinking of that was. But I did like the film. I liked the film because, number one, for a Vietnam movie, it definitely had this horror film vibe to it because of the score was a bit moody and the look of the film was dark and foggy. There's a lot of moments where the soldiers are around, there's fog all around, and there's definitely a bleakness to it. There's definitely the feel of this impending doom of being in this area, being in Vietnam, and how people maybe felt in Vietnam, and like if you're in this environment, no wonder you lose your mind. And the first 3 minutes is a bit weird, but I'm liking it. There's some pretty decently graphic booby traps involved. And again, the atmosphere is rainy, it's dark. The acting is serviceable. The acting, I mean, it's not Casualties of War and Hamburger Hill, you know, and Platoon in terms of Vietnam movies, but I didn't mind the acting. That's why I wish we got a little bit more about the terrorists to know who they were. It's everyone as it's going on, you're just wondering what other horrible shit's going to happen next. There's a booby trap, or someone gets their leg hurts, or they get amputated, or there's traps in the water with explosions, there's traps on bridges with bombs. Like I said, this feel of whether impending doom or atmospheric, it just, you just feel bad for the people in it. I don't know how else to put it. You just feel bad. And, I mean, this is a VHS quality I saw, so to see it in HD would be interesting. Again, the spoilers. When I talk about the first 30 minutes, that's in it's also split up in, this is a different thing, chapters. So it says prologue, or Act 1, or Act 2, or epilogue, and okay, that was a bit different as well. So like I said, after that writer, then it's boom, POWs and a German photographer are in this pit. Then they're led to escape. And again, it's night shrouded with fog. You get this very horror film vibe. There's booby traps, like someone hits a line, and these sharp sticks shoot out and impale a guy right in the chest. Not a bad effect. And this guy with the glasses, he's ready to kill a VC, but it's a woman, so he hesitates. So someone comes up and shoots, and the guy's like freaking out, and then one of the men shoot him. I'm going like, what the hell's going on? Like, there's 7 people in the group, right? Within 30 minutes, before they even get to the gold, 4 of them are dead. I'm like, shit, man, like 30 minutes? Like, we're not even at the gold yet, which is, you would think, okay, they're going to get the gold, and then there's going to be greed, and there's going to be a bit of, this is mine, should I kill them? I mean, you know, the Treasure Sierra Madre. So, I say that, but it doesn't really play, because, like I said, most of them are dead by the time they even find the gold. By the time they find the gold, there's only 3 of them left, and other than one argument, they're not really fighting over the gold. Other than one argument, so maybe Treasure Sierra Madre is actually a bad way to describe, now that I think about it out loud. So actually that's the wrong way to think of it. So, I mean, it would have been nice to, you know, keep a few alive, and then maybe the guy with the glasses, he's freaking out, and then he loses his gold, and he loses it, and maybe he's like, I'm going to keep the gold for myself, and maybe then that's why. Or maybe the guy with the glasses, if he saw even more horror, to see him understand why he freaks out even more, why he loses even more. That's the thing, it felt like a section of the movie is missing. That's why I don't know if it's fixed with the more footage, or there isn't more footage, or there is more footage but it's all bullshit. I don't know. So again, there's not a lot of character work. So it's like, who are they, and why are they going so crazy? I'd rather the events. It's this weird thing where, like I said, the reason I enjoyed it is it had a certain mood to it, which I haven't seen in a lot of Vietnam movies, and just something about a oppressiveness where I don't know, I can't. It's a weird reaction. I just felt bad for the people of the film. I just felt bad, and and maybe with the way the jungle was shot, and again how dark and rainy and foggy everything is like a pit of hell called Vietnam. Although I think they said technically they were in Cambodia or something. Because I think someone says we're not in Vietnam, we're in like Cambodia or something. Like one scene that was kind of interesting was, and this is spoilers, someone dies, and the guy's like, he freaks out, he just goes crazy. Yes, sir! Yes, sir! And he happens to be black, and he's calling himself all sorts of horrible racial names. He's like, yes, sir! Yes, sir! And he's just freaking out, and then he walks into the night with all these fog, and like, with the fog covering him, he just disappears, and then you see feet walking, and then you see the other men, and they hear this big explosion. So I guess you get the idea that he, whether on purpose or not, walked into a damn mine. And that's the idea. I was like, shit, like you could assume that they were POWs, but this is really like if there was more in the POW camp, and maybe they saw like I said, it's like instead of the writer bookend, like have a 20-minute opening where they get to know a little bit and they see these horrible things, and the guy with the glasses, like he sees some of his buddies get killed and blood splashes his face. The black guy, which I have to say that because I don't know their names because we didn't really get much of their characters, but he sees stuff and he's losing friends. And then in the POW camp, maybe they do the Chuck Norris thing where someone puts a sack and a rat in the sack, and that's one of the reasons why I would not put this above Hamburger Hill or Casualties of War or Missing Action to the Beginning. I think is really good, but I still liked the booby traps aspect. And I mean, it's not about Tunnel Rats, but I would say there's a much better version of Uwe Boll's film's Tunnel Rats. Because Uwe Boll wanted to create like a Vietnam type of horror feel with his movie, but it's Uwe Boll, so other than maybe, what was that film? I didn't mind Rampage and Assault on Wall Street movie, but everything else he touched was a bunch of dog shit. This was like a better version of that Tunnel Rats. Because again, there's a trap with water, and they save this lady, and they have, because if she moves anymore, she's gonna blow up. They kind of realize, fuck this, we should keep the gold for ourselves, and they don't care about us. They don't care about saving us. They just care about saving this gold. These superiors. Even the way it ends, which I will admit I was a bit confused at first, but I think I get it now. They, how to put it? I said I was a bit confused at first. The three of them are at the landing, but then the helicopter landed in and erupted this trap with all these grenades. So they think there's a firefight and blah blah blah, and they're ducking, they're shooting because they think there's people out there. But then the people in the helicopter are greedy, they're not going to leave, and then the fucking chopper gets blown up. And they all see it. And it's almost like just these three just witnessing And now think about it, there's no, for this type of movie, it's interesting. There's never a moment where they kill and shoot the VC. But then there's no moment where they kill and shoot the VC. There's no firefights of that type. So it's more about, even without the VC, how people can go mad and crazy and insane because of that situation. Even if you took the VC out, just you had the booby traps and everything else in between. So that made it a bit different as well. Because I just realized that there's never a moment where they're, well, except the very beginning. That's not true. The very beginning, where they kill one or two people, I think like one guy, to get the POWs out. But after that, there's no more that I remember. Well, okay, there's two instances. There's another where the guy's ready to kill, but he can't, and then they shoot one. So I lied. But very few compared to other Vietnam movies. Because usually in this type, you would think, okay, there'd be a lot of VC and then blah blah blah. It's not the case in this. And then they realize there's no one out there. This was a trap, like a grenade thing that they. So we're shooting at nothing. And they kind of realize just how terrible, ridiculous the whole thing is. So they take their dog heads off and they throw it on the ground. And it's a bit ambiguous, but it does seem likely that they just took the gold and they just fucking left. Because the gold was never found. So they just threw the shit down, they took the gold, they left, and you never know what happened to them. I mean, I kind of wish we would have known what happened to them. Which means I must have cared at least a little bit about the movie. That's the thing. Instead of this booked in with the writer, I'd rather have about 20 minutes of setup and just give a little bit of even the three of them just walking away with the gold and then walking to the distance, fade out the end. Again, I just little bits here and there I would have preferred. But overall, like I said, I did like it. I'd be curious to pick up the Verger Syndrome. Or give me free shit. Send it to me now. But like I said, I did like that horror film doomish vibe to it. I don't know how else I did with the score and the look of the film. It just gives you maybe a feeling of what it might have been in that whole Vietnam conflict. Just give that unsettling feeling. I don't know how else to word it. But maybe Ryan, if you see this, you can word it better. Because you requested it. But overall, yeah, I did like it. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.